Okay. Me llamo Ana. Es un honor estar aquí en Colombia, en Bogotá y con todos ustedes. En Suecia tengo una empresa donde trabajo como periodista, conferenciante y también de escritura de libros para niños. Entonces voy a cambiar al inglés porque no sé todas las palabras en español. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I'm. Do I have the pointer for the pictures? Yes. Is my picture up there, by the way? Yes. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start with a quote that I like a lot. It's from Leonard Cohen's song, and it's a friend of mine, a disability activist in Sweden, introduced me to this quote. And the quote is like this: "There is a crack in everything. That's where the light comes in." So, I think this quote describes me a lot. The way I'm thinking and what I'm working for. Like Maria, I'm passionate about working for diversity and inclusion. And I love to work to inspire people working for participation. Participation is not just a human right. I think it's also, like you heard in the quote here, meeting different perspectives gives us all. It's like a huge gift to us all, I think. So, shortly about my background, why I'm working with things I do today. I grew up in south of Sweden, in a town called, or city called Malmö. It's close to Copenhagen. And when I was 3 years old, my parents noticed that I was complaining about pain in my feet, and I got inflammations in my knees. We went to the doctors, and the doctors, they gave me the diagnosis rheumatoid arthritis. This led to me having to use wheelchair a lot when I was a child. I'm gonna change the picture now. Yes, I did. Yes. Usually I tell my audience to make a beep when I change the picture. So next time you beep, okay. Well, here is a picture of me in a wheelchair. At this particular moment, I had a lot of pain in my neck, so I had to lie down in this wheelchair. And as all of you probably know, it can be quite hard when you're different, and when you're in a school, in a class, you're the one that are the only one using a wheelchair. I was integrated in a class, so all my classmates, they didn't have any disability. I was the only one. Yeah, it can be quite tough being the only one being different. But me and my classmates, we were very innovative when we were playing. We were playing the game that you call Robbers and Cops. And I was actually the police car in my wheelchair. Yeah. No, but so I mean, instead of me being the one led outside, I was actually the highlight of the game. And it can actually be like that. And I'm so happy that I had this good experience at an early stage in my life, because from this I learned that it's possible to do things in different ways. You don't always have to do it according to the norms. I mean, it's okay to be the wheelchair, the police car in your wheelchair, for instance. When I was 4, my disease gave me inflammation in my eyes. And at the age of 24, I lost my sight. So today I'm totally blind. So, what is it like then living in Sweden when you have a visual impairment or if you're blind? Okay, now I'm gonna see if you can do the beep for me. Yes. So, here is a picture of me and my guide dog walking along the metro platform in Stockholm. When I lost my sight, it was two things that actually changed a lot for me. First, it was the attitudes from people around me. I noticed that people were treating me in a different way. For instance, they were talking to my friend standing next to me when I was out shopping, when it was me actually doing the shopping, instead of talking to me. But the hardest thing of all, I noticed, was like not getting a job. Because a lot of people, I noticed they were thinking that it's not possible to do certain things when you're blind. So I met a lot of prejudice. And the second thing that changed a lot for me was that all of a sudden I couldn't participate like I used to do because of things being inaccessible for me. And for instance, reading the magazine I used to do, because it didn't exist in Braille or in audio. But the hardest thing, I think, was actually to move around, like walking out on the streets, going to the store, going to my work, going with the metro, normal things you do every day. But all of a sudden it was very hard and not safe, because things were quite inaccessible. I remember one particular moment. I went home by the metro. I had been to the gym doing a spinning class, and you know, when you do spinning you could be quite exhausted after. So I was following the edge with weight cane, because there is a big gap down to the track, so you have to walk very carefully. And I was very concentrated, but also very exhausted. And all of a sudden I lose track of where I am at the platform. So I actually almost fell down. This particular moment happened 15 years ago. And luckily things has changed. Things are becoming better at the metro station, at the platform today. Today you have a tactile path you can follow along the platform. So instead of following along the edge at the metro stop, you can actually follow this tactile path. So it's a little bit less dangerous, but it's still quite dangerous. And my dream is to have walls in the metro, like a wall coming up, so it's impossible for you to fall down on the tracks. And now they're actually testing that system in Sweden. So hopefully in the future I'm going to feel safer going around, me and a lot of other people being visually impaired. To feel safe and be independent, I mean, it's of course important for all of us. And when you have a visual impairment, it's very important with personal assistance sometimes, because it takes a lot of energy to walk around on your own. Even though you can find your way, it takes a lot of energy. I think it's very important to point that out. And in Sweden, you can get some kind of help usually, but it's quite a few hours with a personal assistant or like a guide. You say guide in Sweden. And I think that the best thing when you're visually impaired, this is my point of view, that it's the best thing when you're mostly independent is when you're actually walking around with a guide dog. Because then you can choose yourself when you want to go out. You're not dependent on booking that particular guide, and you're not, and you don't have to think about those hours, because you have limited hours using the personal service. And for instance, for me, I have 20 hours a month. But the good thing, it's for free. It's a support through the government, so I have 20 hours a month for personal help. But there is places in Sweden that you have to pay for this still. So of course, a lot of people, they can't go out that much. The personal service I can use for going to the gym, going to the store, take a walk, doing things like everyone else do. And it's a very important accessibility thing. But the guide dog, like I told you, you see my guide dog here in the picture. I had him until last fall, when he passed away, unfortunately. But he was a great help for me, and a guide dog is something you can get through the government. You apply for it, and you get support also when you have the dog. You don't have to pay for anything else but the food for the dog. So you get the veterinary costs, the training, the equipment, and everything. And it's a huge freedom with a guide dog, of course. But there is a problem. I've heard you had a similar problem here in Colombia, that in some places you're not allowed in with a guide dog. It's actually the same in Sweden. In public transport, like the metro, buses, it works usually quite fine. I used to go with my guide dogs on the airplane, on the train, but many times they stopped me when I wanted to go into the restaurant, for instance. And we have this law, like Maria told you about, since 2015, and we hope that in the future this law will protect us more, and also guide dog users. Yeah. So, let's see if you're with me now, huh? Good. Okay, we're going back in time again. 2 years before I lost my sight, I didn't know any person that was blind. But at this particular moment, this was in year 2000, I decided to apply for a job within the Visually Impaired Association. It's an association working for rights for people with visual impairments in Sweden. And it's an association by people that have visual impairments. They were starting a trainee project. It was the first trainee program in Sweden within the, what do you call it? Associations like the, Maria, help me. Alltså ideella organisationer.
Non-government.
Yeah, non-government organizations.
NGO.
NGOs, yes, it was the first thing. And I got the job at this trainee project. We were 10 people participating in this program. And the best thing, of course, was to work for our rights for people with disabilities and for people being visually impaired. But I also got to meet and get to know other people that are blind. I met a lot of good role models for me, and you see some of them in the picture. And by telling this, I want to point out how important it is with the organizations and the organizations where we are actually our own voice. And also, I mean, it has to do, of course, with the disability politics, but on an individual point of view, it's also very important. I got a lot of strength through meeting all those people when I became blind. When working at the trainee project, I worked a lot towards media, because media has a huge power in society. We got a lot of our pictures from media, norms from media, and so on, and attitudes, prejudice, yeah. And I was trying to influence reporters in papers, radio, to lift our issues. And Within the trainee project, we did practice at different places as well, and I got practice at the local radio Stockholm. After I did my practice there, the mentor I had at the radio Stockholm actually offered me a job. Because he told me that, Anna, you have a perspective that we need, a disability perspective, because it has to do with the diversity. I was offered this job, and it was then I decided to become a journalist. I realized that if I want to influence things, it's very important to be on the inside, to be there, and I also realized that more and more that media is a huge power in society, and that I want to be there and take part of it, and also try to change the picture of what people look like in media with disabilities today. Okay. So what does the picture look like in the media? Beep. Yeah, okay. The picture in media today, I think it's quite similar all over the world actually, still. But there's two very typical pictures you see, or roles. Number one is the one of the victim. The person with disability is the person in need of help and not getting the help, for instance. You recognize it? Yes. Yes. And then you have the number two, the picture, that's the hero. Yes. The person with disability doing the unexpected, like climbing mountains in your wheelchair. Yeah. Yes, wow. Yeah. No, but you're almost never seen like the regular citizen. And if you're seen in media, TV, or you're heard on the radio, you're seen in the paper, you're usually there because of your disability. You're talking about your disability. I mean, you almost never see a reporter asking a person, for instance, using a wheelchair, what are you gonna vote for in the next election? Usually if you get questions, it concerns disability or hospital care that has often a connection. So since 2004, I've been working as a journalist and trying to change this picture. And I was very happy because in 2004 we had a new TV show in Sweden. There was actually a huge new big thing. It was a TV show. For the first time we had a program leader using wheelchair on the TV show. This TV show was called CP Magazine. Yeah, I don't know how to translate it, but you know CP, the cerebral palsy? Yeah. And this program was a program about disability issues. And everyone was talking about this show, that this was going to be the change for something new. Soon we were going to see people with disabilities on TV shows like everyone else. For instance, reading the news on Braille when you're blind, or being on the entertainment shows or in dramas and so on. So what has happened since then? Well, in 2005, I was very happy when I saw that there was coming up a new show. It was a reality show. One of the participants, he was blind. And he was there doing this competition. They were in a middle-aged world doing competition, and he was there under similar circumstances like everyone else. So he was actually included, yeah, just as the human being he is. everyone was thinking that, oh yes, now we're going to see it's going to change more and more. But unfortunately, I think that it has gone back quite a bit. Nothing has really happened after that. In 2012, there was a new show again, a reality show, and this was a huge step back, according to me. You see a picture from this show. I think I have the picture up now. Yeah. You see, there is a bunch of people there with different kind of disabilities. This was an adventurous show. They've had it in the US as well, and in England, I think. And if I translate the show, the name was called Against All Odds. It was 10 people with different kind of disabilities going through the African desert. Yeah, I mean, it might sound quite cool, I mean, but you definitely saw the hero picture here. I started a debate against this show, a debate that went quite big in Sweden, actually, because I was asking myself, why do we have a show like this today in 2012? Why don't we have a similar show where we include all different kind of peoples? Why do we have to isolate people with disabilities in a certain show for people with disabilities? And again, why do we have to prove that when you have a disability, you're just like everyone else? You're even a little bit better because you can walk through the African desert. I can tell you I wouldn't do that, even though I could see. Well, anyway, when I was starting this debate, the Swedish television, I'm talking about the public service now, I also have to point out, because we have public service in Sweden, and they have a mission to mirror the Swedish inhabitants, or like, yeah, citizens, yeah. And when I was criticizing this show, the Swedish television, they didn't understand my criticism. They thought they did the right thing. They thought this was a good way to include people with disabilities. But luckily, times change and the norms also as well. And today, when we had a public conference in January, you can see that the understandings and the attitudes are changing. And today, one of the bosses from Swedish television also say that they would never suggest a show today like Against All Odds. And, but it takes time with inclusion, of course, and it's also hard sometimes to do it the right way. Recently, around Easter, there was a participant on a quiz show, a big, well-known show going on Saturday nights in Sweden. She was there, she's blind, competing on the show, and that was the first time you could see a person being blind on a quiz show like that on TV, on that particular show. But unfortunately, when the program leader was introducing her in the beginning, I think he spent probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 minutes just asking her questions about her blindness. So why couldn't she be there just like Marie, like the person she is? I mean, she has children, she's was in between works now, and yeah, you know, she has interests like everyone else. But she had a lot of questions about her blindness. But I'm going to finish up though with a good example. Yes, because we have good examples too, and I think we're going to see them more and more in the future as well. And that's on Swedish television as well, on the children's show called Bullybumpa. They have had program leader in using wheelchair. And you see one of them on the picture here, Lovisa. She is also part of the exhibition here. So you probably see her on the picture with the people participating in the exhibition as well here. So Lovisa, she's been the program leader And she's been there like everyone else. Sometimes she's been talking about her disabilities. I remember one time she was trying this special vehicle that you can use going around downtown if you're using a wheelchair, jumping into this instead, like electrical little motorbike kind of. But yeah, usually she was there just like baking, doing craft and funny things for kids, like everyone else. And this is a picture I want to see more and more, because I'm sure that if you see people with disabilities in media that has such a huge power, you see them there like everyone else, you will see a change when it comes to the norms. You will see a change when it comes to attitudes, and also when it comes to accessibility. And I'm also sure that people more and more also will realize that what a huge gift it is with different perspectives. And I'm going to finish up with the quote I began with. There is a crack in everything, that's where the light comes in. Thank you very much.